Hey, Ray Del Vecchio here from websiteprofitcourse.com. Today, we're going to go deep on WordPress SEO. That's how you get your website ranked higher on Google so you can get more visitors, more traffic, and more business. My goal for this video is to go into all the important details that you need to know so you have a comprehensive idea of how to approach it. That's going to include keyword research, how to get ideas, the best tools that you can use, including Google Search Console and Google Analytics. I'll show you how those tools help you out and give you more knowledge. We'll also look at the WordPress backend, the posts and the pages, and a whole bunch more. Stick around for this entire video. And I just want to mention that I'm not going to go into local SEO. That's getting your map listing ranked if you're a small local business. I do plan on doing a video on that in the future. If you're interested in seeing that, make sure you subscribe to my channel. So without further ado, let's jump into the screencast. I've watched a handful of videos on SEO, and I think sometimes people dig too much into the technical details without putting together the big picture. And just let's think about this. Somebody goes to Google, they're obviously looking for only a handful of things. They want to research a broader topic, they're going to ask a specific question, or they might be looking to research a brand or a product if they want to buy something. Every piece of content that you have should be based around that. You could do all the technical optimization you want. It's not going to matter if you don't have a great blog post. Now for this example, I'm going to use a new blog post that I just published. And I just want to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, Rob. He put together this blog post. I've been having him write out blog posts based on my videos just to save me a little bit of time. There's one technique for you right away. You know, if you're better at creating videos or even podcasts, you could turn them into written blog posts to get more traffic on Google. Here's a few tips for where you can research keywords. So the first one is on Google Ads. They have a tool called Keyword Planner. And unfortunately, I think they changed this recently where you don't get the search information unless you have paid campaigns. So if you go to this and you don't see the numbers that I see, that's probably why. Even still, you should be able to get some ideas for keywords based on this. So I'm just going to search for WordPress beginners. And here's your list of keywords that they give you related to that. Like I said, if you have a paid campaign that you've run in the past, they should give you the average monthly searches along with the bid range. And if the bid range is high, you know that advertisers are paying for that keyword because it's valuable. We have Getting Started with WordPress, WordPress Tutorials for Beginners, WordPress Beginner's Guide, Learn WordPress from Scratch, Starting a WordPress Website, WordPress Coding for Beginners. So a good way to think about this is adding modifiers onto more generic keywords. You know, coding is a good example where some people want to learn WordPress because they don't want to deal with code, and other people want to understand how the code behind WordPress works. After this tool, an easy one is just go to Google. If you start typing in WordPress, I'll just do WordPress B, and they're going to give you autocomplete suggestions. So here you got WordPress blog themes, WordPress backup, WordPress block editor. If I type in beg, we should get just beginner keywords, beginner videos, beginner course. And the other thing you want to do is scroll down to the bottom of the page and they give you more suggestions down here. These are related searches or potentially trending searches. How to create a WordPress website for beginners, WordPress for Dummies PDF. So these are all kind of similar, but if you do this for a handful of keywords, you should get some new ideas. And as I just mentioned with the Google Ads, you know, Google is always pushing ads as the first couple of results before they give you the organic results. So it's a good idea to see what people are advertising for, what companies are advertising. And in this case, we have Bluehost, which is a very big WordPress hosting company. You got Udemy, which is an online learning platform. And just take a look at the way they word their titles and their descriptions. You might be able to pick up some keywords from that. And the last idea is to use other platforms. You know, go on Amazon and search for Kindle books. See what the titles of the books are. See what has the most reviews, you know, which are the most popular. And a good idea is to go into these reviews and read some of them. And especially the 3 or 4 star reviews. You know, the 5-star reviews might be super positive. You might not get that much information. The 1 stars are going to be most of the haters. If you go through some of these and see what people are actually writing about, the questions that actual Google searchers or people in the learning phase are thinking about, that will also give you an insight into their mindset and things that you could include in a blog post around that keyword. Once your website is indexed in Google and it starts appearing, they're going to take a few other things into account when deciding where to rank you. Number one is, what's the click-through rate? If people see your ad and they're not clicking on it, you're going to be pushed down, whereas if people are clicking more compared to other results, you're going to be pushed up. So if you want to see your average click-through rate, they have a tool which gives you the performance of your website on Google search page, just like I'm looking at here, and that's called Search Console. This is a look at my website, and this is where right now they're displaying clicks, impressions, and we can click this to get our average click-through rate, as well as our average position on Google. And then down here, you can filter this by actual searches. That's what the queries are. You can pick certain pages on your website if you want to see the performance of an individual blog post, as well as these others: countries, devices, dates. You want to come in here and monitor your performance within Search Console. And I'll dig into this a little bit more in depth later on in this video. And then once people click through to your website, you're going to want to have Google Analytics installed. That's going to show you how people are interacting with your website, which is also a factor that Google measures. Two numbers that you're going to want to look at are bounce rate and average session duration. So this is a look at my Google organic traffic. There's an 80% bounce rate, and a bounce is if somebody lands on your site and then exits without going to a second page. The average session duration is exactly what you think it is, but if somebody bounces, that gets counted as a 0 average session duration. So in order for this to be measured, somebody has to go to a second page, and they calculate the difference between those two times. And you want to design your content so people spend more time on your page. Let's look again at the WordPress post and talk about some of what you're going to want to include. We already talked about how the title needs to be good. It has to target keywords, but it also has to target humans. You want something that is going to pick someone's interest and get them to click, and not something that is just completely based on keywords and is meant for robots. Google likes multimedia, so the first thing I have here is an embedded video. You also want to include images, if you have charts, GIFs, anything that's going to keep people interested in the blog post. You know, the worst thing you could do is just write a 1,000-word blog post that is 3 really long paragraphs and nothing else. People skim in general. They're not going to want to read a book when they're going to a blog post. They want to be able to find the information easily. One way that I did that with a custom feature is through this index. In addition to the title, you want to include other keywords and things that people might search for within these subheadlines. So this is a headline 2, an H2 HTML element. All of the index points are linking up those H2 elements. Then you got the URL structure. So up here you can see that I like using the post permalink structure within WordPress. You don't want to have dates and a bunch of other things that make this URL super long. One thing you might notice about my blog format is that it's simple. I don't have a sidebar. I have all the focus on the content itself. It's mobile friendly. So if I refresh this in mobile format, you can see how it looks on here, and I got a little pop-up there for my admin bar. But if we go down to an iPhone size, you know, this is a very simplified layout. I got my mobile menu here. So these are just a few basic suggestions. Don't clutter your website with everything that you want on one page. Separate them and make sure each page has a specific goal, and the goal of the blog post is to get people to read on. And then when it comes to writing, my favorite tool is Grammarly. I generally am not that great at writing, and I'm even worse at editing. To me, it feels like a very subjective thing where I don't necessarily know what to edit. And Grammarly has really been a lifesaver because they score your writing out of 100. And my goal right now is just to get to 99 or 100 on everything I write. And I'm completely fine with however it sounds as long as I do that. Pretty sure they use artificial intelligence, and they give you a lot of suggestions above and beyond a basic spell checker or something like that. Highly recommend that you check out the free version of that, and I upgraded within a week or two of using the free version just because I knew that it was going to really speed along my process and save me a ton of time. I made a video a little while back about Grammarly. If you want to check that out, I'll link it up in the top right. I'm over in the WordPress blog editor, and I just want to show you that over on the right-hand pane, if you go to the Post tab, this is where you can set your URL slug. That's the permalink that we just discussed before. I don't think you can do this until you save the draft. So you want to write your blog post, save the draft, and then edit the URL slug, save it again, and you'll be good to go once you publish it. And I scrolled all the way down to the bottom here. The most popular SEO plugin on WordPress is Yoast SEO. And this allows you to edit your title. If you want a separate title from what the WordPress post is, you can edit it here. Right now they have these variables, the title, the page, the separator, the site title, and they give you the snippet, what that looks like. And then you can also edit your meta description. That's That's what shows in Google under the title. Depending on what the person searches for, if they search for something that is within the content, Google obviously might show that snippet as opposed to what you have for the meta description. But if you do this on your most popular blog posts and pages, that's another way to boost your ranking a little bit for some of those various searches. One of the more technical factors is the speed of your website. I created an entire video going into that. I'll link that up in the top right. It includes a couple plugins that you can install and set up to really optimize everything. The real quick bullet notes of that is, your hosting is a big deal, but I've found that I can optimize on shared hosting better than most people. I see a lot of people complaining about that you need to upgrade, and I found that you don't need to upgrade in many cases if you don't have a lot of traffic, if you implement some of these techniques. Images are usually a big space waster. If you're not optimizing your images before you upload them and you're inserting the highest resolution images, that's going to slow down things. But check out that video if you really want to dig into the details. I'm jumping back into Google Search Console, and I'm just going to share with you my process for optimizing after the post is launched. I think it's a good idea to publish as quickly as you can. Don't micromanage every step in this process. Put stuff out there and see if it starts ranking on Google, and then continue to optimize and iterate on things that are ranking and getting some momentum. So if you go into Google Search Console, change your date to go to the longest range possible. You can do up to 16 months on here, and you want to get as much data as you can. And if you just click the export button in the top right, you'll be able to get that information, what people are searching for, in a spreadsheet. And what I like to do is sort it by clicks and by impressions, so you see what has the most volume, and put that into an online tool to see what keywords are appearing the most often. What are the most frequent keywords that people are searching for? A lot of times you're not going to have some of those keyword phrases in your content. So doing something as simple as expanding your blog post and adding in those various keyword phrases that are all related to your main keyword phrase, that goes a long way. You can add them to the title, to the headlines, to the meta description that we were just looking at. By doing that, you might get new ideas and write an extra 500 words or 1,000 words, which gives you more opportunity. Link up other posts that you have, do internal linking throughout your website, and you also don't want to be afraid to link to external posts. As long as they're trustworthy sources and they can help people out, that's something that Google likes to see. I got two more quick points, and the first is about the competition level. Clearly, if you go after super generic keywords like weight loss, you have zero shot at ranking for something that has hundreds of thousands or millions of searches. Now, what the good news is that most searches are actually what are called long tail searches. This isn't necessarily the number of keywords in the search phrase, it's just in the amount of times that search phrase is searched for. Here's a chart showing you that. And I've seen numbers anywhere from 70% to 90% of the searches on Google are these long tail searches. So that means that they don't have as much competition and you have a much better shot at ranking for them. They are not going to bring the same volume, but they're often much more specific searches that have a much more specific intent. And if your post caters to that intent, you can drive business without a massive amount of searches. The other thing to note is that a lot of searches are new searches, things that people haven't searched before. One of my first really big wins online was I wrote a blog about an issue with the iPad and how it didn't work with Adobe Flash. That's a technology that really isn't used on the web anymore. My post ranked because it was not that long after the iPad, the first version, launched. And the combination of those two terms, iPad and Flash Player, there was not that many pages out there that were related to that. So even though I had a new blog, within a couple of months, I ranked on the first page for that. And that drove me really my first income, my first substantial income online. I had Google AdSense ads, just display ads and banner ads placed on my website. And when somebody clicked on a banner ad, you get paid, anywhere between a penny or $1 or a couple of dollars, depending on the niche of the ads. After a while, Google pretty much slapped my site. I went back down to whatever it was, page 10 or 15. All my traffic's wiped out. And that was an anonymous blog. I realized that doing anonymous blogs are not as powerful as doing something under your real name like I am with this YouTube channel and my current blog. People are going to trust a person over just a piece of content if they don't know who wrote it. So you have to consider that. The final thing that I want to talk about is arguably the most important, but it's also the thing that you have the least amount of control over, and those are backlinks. And I just have the same post pulled up. Here's a backlink to WordPress.org. and here's a backlink to WordPress.com. That's all it is. It's just a link on another website, a trustworthy website in your niche that links over to your website. And the more links that you have from unique domains that have authority, the higher your website is going to rank. It's just like a vote for your website. And the more votes you get, the more trustworthy you are in the eyes of Google. You know, one of the easiest ways or most popular ways to get backlinks is just through guest blog posts. Find outlets that accept guest posts, and you get to put a link in your author bio or within the article. And frankly, this is the area that I have to work in the most. Pretty much my entire online presence has been built through constant publishing on my blog and my YouTube channel. I really haven't done that much promotion. So within the next year, that's something that I'm definitely going to work on. And just like this blog post is showing you, you know, the best links are actually editorial, meaning that somebody links to you because your content is worth linking to, not because you told them to link to it. So there you go. I mean, I tried to pack in everything that I know about WordPress SEO within this video. I'm hoping that you take away a lot from it and have a couple ideas of what you can work on to implement on your own WordPress website today. Please give this video a thumbs up if it taught you something. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more videos on WordPress. If you want additional help with WordPress, I got a bunch of links in the description below, so check them out. If you have any experience with getting traffic from Google, I'd love to hear a story from you below in the comments. And I'll link up a couple videos here if you want to keep on watching. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this entire video. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you implement some of these techniques.